I'm Ian, and I just discovered that I can no longer eat. My internal organs are part of the $3.99 LyingTuna digestive tract downloadable content bundle, and quite frankly, I cannot decide if the extra content is worth the price.
DLC, or downloadable content. Few things are as controversial in the world of gaming. The idea of content being added to a game post-release isn't anything new, of course, but typically that was a PC-exclusive affair via expansion packs and the like. It wasn't until consoles like the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 that we really started to see DLC crop up commonly on console games, and boy, are people divided on this. The argument against it is basically that if you pay for a game, you deserve to get everything at once, and while I do agree in the cases of games being released unfinished and then expecting payment for a complete product, I can't help but generally be fine with DLC. If I enjoy a game and I want to support the developer, then I'm usually okay with throwing a couple extra bucks their way for some extra content.
And speaking of things that defy the general gamer public, Sonic.
DLC has been present in the Sonic franchise for a surprisingly long time. The first Sonic title to have DLC was actually Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast, which is pretty nuts, added to the list of ways the Dreamcast was ahead of its time. It's all minor cosmetic stuff like this Christmas-themed Station Square, which is cute and definitely pretty neat for the time.
And it didn't stop there. Sonic games have been getting DLC pretty consistently for years now.
You have things like the Yoshi and Zelda DLC for Sonic Lost World on Wii U, which people seem to like, the pinball minigame in Generations that nobody remembers, Episode Metal in Sonic 4, which is a thing that I swear I didn't just make up, this does exist, and there was that time Sega wanted to charge $2 for Super Sonic and Sonic Forces, and then immediately changed their mind because they took one look at their fan base and said,
"Oh god, Sonic fans are scary."
But in terms of major, substantial downloadable content packs, the games that are best known for it are probably Unleashed and Mania. I never messed with the Sonic Unleashed DLC to be honest, but I do loves me some Sonic Mania Plus. Encore mode and 2 extra characters that actually really change up the gameplay, that's an excellent package that is well worth the very small cost of upgrading from the base version of the game.
But today, I want to take a look at the first ever paid DLC for a Sonic game, and quite frankly, I'm not even sure which game did it first, so let's go ahead and check it out, and of course,
because as you know, everyone was clearly clamoring for more Sonic 06 at the time. For real, I find this baffling. I know people these days tend to be pretty defensive of this game, and while I've personally always had a pretty huge soft spot for it, I also remember how people felt about it upon release. They didn't like it. Hell, I didn't like it either, but like I said, I've grown very fond of this game, despite still seeing it as more or less a stain on the franchise as a whole, good music and level design aside. It is the only Sonic game to feature classic character accordion player though, so that's something. Now, not all of the listed DLC for this game is actually proper downloadable content. There are things like Xbox themes, one of which I've actually been rocking on my console since 2010, as well as avatar icons and the like, so yeah, that's all pretty cute.
But I'm here to look at actual game content, and there actually is a fair amount of that here. So let's go ahead and give that a look before I put myself to sleep with my own Sonic 06 history lesson.
First up, we have Very Hard Mode, which adds an extra difficulty to each stage in Trial Mode. Every level already has a hard mode, but let's be real, literally nobody on Earth has ever bothered with that. In terms of how Very Hard fares, it starts out super cool actually. I played through all of Sonic stages and his version of Wave Ocean is almost entirely different, starting you out at the end of the stage and working your way backwards towards the beginning, with these awesome sections where, as in the normal stage, you run from the orca on the crumbling docks. But here, you actually have to do platforming in real time during it rather than having it be a glorified cutscene. Yes, the slowdown that this causes does make this part nearly unplayable and insanely difficult, but it is still really cool. Dusty Desert is pretty cool too, since you don't have to carry Elise around like she's fucking paraplegic or something. Playing the stage as Sonic is actually a lot of fun since it's really well designed, despite the fact that it doesn't actually do anything different from the normal version other than some extra enemies and obstacles. The other stage where you carry Elise still has you toting her lazy ass around unfortunately, but you do get to go through Silver's version of the level for a while, which is really cool. The rest of the levels are much closer to what you would expect from a typical hard mode in a game, you know, more enemies with more health placed all over the place. There are still some really cool platforming sections here. Crisis City in particular has some really cool jumps, and this whole rail grinding segment at the end of Kingdom Valley is super interesting, but yeah, aside from that, this is all just basically Sonic 06 as you'd expect, which probably wouldn't bother me if it didn't start out on such a strong note with Wave Ocean. It's basically the exact same deal with Shadow and Silver, just the standard stages with only 1 or 2 notable exceptions. I didn't play all of those because they aren't, you know, fun.
So that was cool for a few minutes, then super lame. Just like me. Next!
Team Attack Amigo!
Gesundheit!
This one is actually pretty cool. Like the name implies, you play as the Amigo characters, which, for those of you who aren't Sonic 06 experts like yours truly, are side characters you play as throughout the game within the stages of the 3 main playable characters. The Amigos in 06 range from, yeah, that's about as good as 06 gets, to, oh wow, that's bad. And fortunately, the creators of this DLC must have known that, because you only play as half of the Amigos in this campaign, and all of them are the better ones. You start off as Tails, who actually moves a lot faster here than in standard gameplay, and you play through Crisis City, Radical Train, and Kingdom Valley. Radical Train is basically normal, but the other 2 stages actually have completely unique platforming challenges that do a really surprisingly good job of utilizing Tails' ability to fly, and it demonstrates a pretty solid understanding of how long Tails can fly and where platforms need to be in order to land on to make it a comfortable yet challenging experience. This is super solidly designed. Then it sticks you in Tropical Jungle and Aquatic Base as Blaze. These stages don't do anything particularly different like they did for Tails, which I suppose is a little disappointing in theory, but here's the thing. Sonic 06 has exactly 2 fun characters, or at least fun when you get the hang of 06's inherent jankiness. First is Sonic. Second is Blaze. This is because she more or less plays like Sonic, but tweaked most notably by having a legitimately really satisfying double jump and a slightly different homing attack. Consequently, playing as Blaze is fun just by default, and by extension, so are her segments of the DLC. I had fun with her in her areas, and she never got to explore these places in the proper game, and since I think 06's strongest suit gameplay-wise is still its surprisingly good level design, it's a match made in heaven. Well, sort of. It's still Sonic 06, but you know. Finally, we get Omega, and honestly, I don't know how his level design is because I just used the glitch hover move to fly over all of it, but yeah, Team Attack Amigo is actually really fun. The Tails parts in particular are really smartly designed around his movements, and Blaze is just kind of entertaining by default, assuming you can get behind 06's gameplay, so yeah, that's a win.
I'll be honest, I was not expecting to enjoy that as much as I did, but hey, I'm not complaining. If I can have fun with a Sonic game, then I'm happy. Well, let's see, we got 1 DLC left.
Boss Attack!
Wait, what?
I'm confused, so it's Boss Attack.
Yup.
But can't you already refight all the bosses in the game from the trial menu?
Yup.
I mean, I get that it's gonna be a boss rush, but wasn't that a free feature in previous games like Sonic Adventure 2?
Yup.
So I have to pay money to access a feature present in older games that's rendered redundant anyway because of the upgraded features of this game?
Yup.
I paid for this 3 times, actually. You have to pay for it individually for each character. Same with Very Hard Mode, actually, which is kind of bullshit if you ask me. I do like how on the character selection screen, it's just represented by the normal character model and pose, but like fucked up and off-center. Normal story Sonic. Boss Attack Sonic. It looks so dumb, I love it. In any case, this mode is basically the same as in previous games. It's a boss rush, having you take on each boss in that character's respective story in order. That's right, you get to pay money to fight Silver the Hedgehog and Iblis Phase 2 again.
It's a dream come true.
To be fair, it actually does alter the bosses a little. They're a bit more aggressive, using some stronger moves earlier in the fights, and there are enemies scattered all over the place in most battles now, but I found that you could just kind of ignore them, so I'm not entirely sure what the point of that was. Still, most of these fights are a bit tougher than in the base game, but not too much so. Like, I probably wouldn't even have been aware of it had I not played the standard versions first for comparison. That isn't all they added, though. Remember Sonic Heroes? Fun game, right? Well, remember the parts in Heroes where you have to stay in a little arena and fight a whole bunch of enemies in waves and it sucks and everyone hates it? Well, now you can do that in Sonic 06!
Finally!
Yeah, this DLC didn't impress me, if you can't tell. It isn't that Sonic 06 has particularly bad boss fights or anything. I mean, it actually does, but that isn't my point. I just don't understand why I had to pay money for this. You can already fight all of these bosses in the game as it is, and while a boss rush mode can be fun, it was free in previous games. Also, it isn't fun here because of the loading times. There is not 1, but 2 loading screens per battle. It goes loading screen, boss intro, loading screen, boss fight, loading screen, boss intro, loading screen, boss fight, loading screen, etc. for around half an hour before you're done, and yeah, it is not ideal. A boss rush needs to be rapid and fast-paced to be fun, and this is more exhausting than anything, and yeah, it's the same deal as the other characters, nothing to write home about at all.
So, did the Sonic 06 DLC really impress me in the end? No, not really. Is that particularly surprising? No, not really.
Although Team Attack Amigo is pretty cool, and there is fun to be had with the very hard stages at times, these DLCs feel pretty rushed overall, and I wouldn't particularly recommend playing them, except for maybe Team Attack Amigo, and only if you really like Sonic 06.
That was still really cool to get to take a look at though, and hey, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and let me know in the comments down below, and be sure to subscribe if you want to see more from me. Until next time guys, I'm LyingTuna, signing off, bye.